Okay, we are going to be installing and preparing this motor for use in a 2.5-inch Rollease tubes. We are going to be using a SOMFI/ZMC style star head adapter on this motor. The motor, its head is not natively compatible with any common bracket, so we're going to put an adapter plate on it, or the adapter on it. Rollease does have a Skyline version adapter that makes it compatible with these larger components, but we don't focus on Skyline here, so we're not going to show that, and we don't have it. This is a 2.5-inch Rollease tube. So to start, this is a 35mm motor, MTACRF35-6. There are DC versions and lithium-ion versions of this motor as well. So first part is to put on our star head adapter. The notch here should align with your cords. You'll see that the program button is going to be accessible as well. Very simple. And this simply snaps into this retainer. What we try and tell customers is to leave the gap in the rings available where the cord is going to be. And you can rotate this ring around so that it is in a good spot for you, and basically you just push it on to snap it on. To take it off, all you gotta do is push on these rings a little bit, and it slides off. That was a little more awkward than it should be. Normally you're just gonna slide it out a little bit like that, and it usually doesn't pop off, but since I am working around a tripod here, it's a little more difficult. Okay, so that's the motor head adapter. Next step is to insert the crown. We always do the crown before the drive. In this case, the drive and crown assembly that we're working with is designed for the 45mm motors, but Rollease has designed a crown adapter for the 35mm motor so that they can use the 45mm motor crown and drives. The drives, however, don't require an adapter because the drive shaft on the 35mm motor here is the same on both the 35 and 45mm motors. So this is a MTCA 35-45. It is a crown adapter for 35 to 45mm motors. The motor has a raised rib on the native crown, that black piece there. It's a metal clip that needs to align to the notch that's inside the crown adapter. So that is going to, and that's going to slide on. Always want the flange to the motor head. Slides on like so. And then we put on our appropriate crown that actually mates to this. There are more alignments on this guy. And I'm going to find it eventually. There, like that. One thing to note here is that, again, it seems that the crowns are a little more tightly tolerance than we'd like them to be, and we found that sometimes you really have to push hard to get, sometimes with a screwdriver, to get that to mate so it's nice and flush with the tube. So that's one thing to be aware of, is that you might have to really push on it with a screwdriver to get it to be nice and flush there. Again, the flange portion of the crown always goes towards the motor head. And again, we have a notch that needs to align to a rib. And that goes on like so. Now this slides about. If we've pre-installed this for you for a shade, you might find it's down on the tube. Just realign it and slide it up there. Drive is really simple on this one. This particular drive, it doesn't look like, it looks like a solid piece of plastic, but it actually is rubberized. There's a rubber layer to help minimize noise. So that simply slides on there and snap in your clip, and voila, that's all set. So installation should be a breeze. A little more difficult on this particular motor and tube. I should say tube, not motor, because that's not a symmetrical pattern, so there's a very specific alignment that needs to happen. And that slides on like so. And you slide it all the way up. And the crown can be rotated, so don't worry about having issues getting that aligned like that. And then again, you can see we've got a little bit of gap there. If I was installing this in a shade, I'd be pushing that down so I can get a nice mating of the crown to the tube. And that's it.